Today at 10:15 a.m., featured on March 27, 2023 at 10:41 a.m., Christian Weston Chandler walks the earth. Update from Kiwi Farms. Christine Weston Chandler, custody record, age 41, gender male, race white, Central Virginia Regional Jail, ID number redacted, custody status out of custody, custody detail bonded out. Due to the current status, updates on this record are no longer available. If you have any questions, please contact the facility. And it was later edited. Mod edit. A few hours later, a Vine link updated to state that Chris was released by court order, as displayed here. Ethnicity non-Hispanic. Custody status date March 27, 2023. Custody status out of custody. Custody detail released by court order. Book date May 3, 2022. Okay. Proof for STFU. Well, I got the same email from Divine Service. This email is to inform you that Christine Chandler, with offender number, that number, was released from custody on March 27, 2023. The release reason is bonded out. If you have any concerns about your immediate safety, contact your local law enforcement agency, or if you have an emergency, call 911. For more information, contact Central Virginia Regional Jail. Phone number is this. Vine information is also available at this link. Notification is sponsored by the Virginia Statewide Vine Service. It is our hope that this information has been helpful to you. Thank you, the Vine Service. I was not ready for these news. Just when I thought I was out, they draw me back in. A comprehensive history just got renewed for a few more seasons. Nothing is over. Nothing. Thoughts and prayers. And you thought the end of the doc was in sight, didn't you? You can't just not do it. Post-jail saga will be wild. Are you prepared, Geno? Unless she spends the rest of her life in a group home with restricted contact, email, and internet access. But let's see. Now we will find out if he has a girlfriend he made in prison. He was made someone's bitch, that's for sure. I wonder if they set a trial date yet or if they're going to work out a plea deal. There is a hearing date set for August 8th. Most definitely a plea if they let him bond out. That really depends how he pleads. Even those accused of murder can bail or bond out if a number is set by the judge. True, but I can see them saying he spent time served for the last year and a half for a lesser crime than what he was originally charged. Where the heck is she going to be housed? Huh? I didn't even think about that. I believe Salvation Army works in sheltering the homeless to an extent, but I doubt she's aware of this. Quickville, duh. Christian isn't actually trans. He has a very long and documented history of lying to get laid, and his transition was another lie. In this case, because he genuinely believed that simply saying he was a woman made him eligible for lesbians and straight women, because, and I quote, "I'm actually a man." When people call Chris he, it isn't to be transphobic, it's refusing to humor a predator who wants to infiltrate a marginalized group for sex. I understand that from an outsider's perspective, he seems like a well-meaning person who was bullied into doing awful things, and people don't look any deeper into it. I know people who call him she or her mean well, I understand, but he's an entirely different beast than what most people can handle. Instead of calling Chris trans, please just ignore him and conversations about him. This is not a rabbit hole you want to explore. He's done an immense amount of damage to the trans community, and acting like he's part of it just lets transphobes point at a living example of their rhetoric and say, "Ha! See, I was right," on national television. There is not enough space on this sign for me to include even a fraction of the entire picture. Christian is nothing but an egotistical, bigoted, dangerous parasite. I ain't reading all that, but I hope you fix your problem. Who bailed them out? Gotta be a praetor. I thought those died off when Rome fell. Why does Shinigami Eye say you're evil? Me. I need more documentaries to eat my lunch too. It was Sonichu, duh. It's the merge. I accidentally hit the Bail Christian button. A new era. The return of Blue Spike. My guess is one of the predators. Him. I'm not familiar with Virginia court policies or the context involved in this case, but is it possible they had bond reduced by a judge to a personal recognizance bond, aka signature bond? Samson Jekyll, apparently. Sam Hyde. Elon Musk. A bail bondsman. Bonded. Not the same as bail. Someone from 4chan that has too much money, probably. I have a theory Liquid Chris did it so he could imprison them himself, but I do not have any proof. Them? I only see Chris Chan. Not in the way people use it now. That's a pronoun and it's plural. Correct, but it's also applicable when the third person singular is unknown or undefined. For example, when the new student arrives, give them a timetable so that they can get to class. I agree, however, the third person singular was already defined in the attached photo. Honestly, believe whoever did it got that Joker mindset. I bailed him out. Probably Predator. Don't say his name. Christian after beating up the judge until the judge paid the bond himself to get Chris released. Out of my way. I'm going to see my mother. Everyone involved in Christian's case and imprisonment put all their money together to post bond because even they didn't want to keep thinking about that anymore. Christian got released before Andrew Tate, laughing my effing ass off. To be fair, Christian was also arrested back in August 2021. Gotta bail out fast! Out of my way! I'm going to see my mother. Sir, the dimensional merge has begun. Out of custody? He's coming for us. She. I have nothing against non-binary people, but this is different. Given his history and his behavior, I really do not think he genuinely identifies as a woman. He even said it himself that this way, it's easier to get close to women. And I think it's an insult for those who really identify as women or men to respect his pronouns. It's an excuse for his predatory behavior. If you look at literally any information about her life, you can see from the very beginning she was trans. Her parents were god-awful bigots. Her mother obviously still didn't deserve that. But you as this person deciding who is and isn't trans isn't cool. Bad people can be trans. They literally said it themselves that they were only being trans to get laid. You're dumb. Ain't no way you're defending Christian's pronouns. Dead, dead, dead. That man raped his own mom, and he will not be called a woman. It. He's a male predator. The people that like this gotta be dense as hell. And he's out for revenge against those who are responsible to imprison him. Relax. Unless your 80-year-old mom with mental health issue, you're safe. No one is safe from Christian. Nah, at the very least, I just know he wouldn't want me. I need to call my grandma. All boyfriend-free girls are targets. Unless you're a grandma, you're safe. For your mother, most definitely. Hide her and be safe. So they use the name Christine but list the gender as male? You'd think they do either both or neither. IIRC, the name was changed legally. But not the gender? Or does Virginia just not have that? You can legally change your name to whatever you want. Your gender is personal info to identify you beyond your chosen name. I'm sure it can be changed. Chris likely just doesn't know that. I think she did it on her driver's license because they'll let you. No junk check required. It could be the jail slash prison system then. I know a lot of them place you depending on what you got below belt to limit sex that can end up in someone getting pregnant. Yeah, they don't give a fuck about your preferences. It's what's under the hood for concrete reasons, like you said. Virginia does, but Chris probably didn't care enough to get the legal gender marker changed. Chris wouldn't want to either, considering the idea behind transitioning wasn't because he felt uncomfortable, but for the reason of getting women in his dating pool. Considering one of the things he was mocked for was looking for a boyfriend free girl. Yeah, I didn't want to say that part out loud, but basically this. The only reason Christian transitioned was to get with lesbians, apparently. Chris was actually dressed as female for like a day or two. Then when Tucker Carlson covered it, all of a sudden, Chris got dumped in the male jail, was classed as male. There's evidence of this 180 happening on the Quickie. Rare Tucker Carlson win. Tucker Carlson for the win. I wonder if it was because of laziness or stupidity, or both. I don't know how it works in Virginia at all, but here in Sweden you can change your name without changing your gender. And as all names are legally considered gender neutral, it means you can easily change to a feminine or masculine name. Male isn't a gender, it's a sex. Why are you caring more about that shit right now? Because it's the most interesting thing in Virginia since the Mothman and the pepperoni roll? And not the White House? That's in DC. I know, but that's still what Virginia is known for. No, it isn't. I got the whole birthplace of America, mother presidents thing mixed in with the White House for some reason. Hi, real life Virginian here. I regret to inform you that the Mothman is from West Virginia. And pepperoni rolls come from West Virginia too, lol. They originally had Chris as female, but after Fox News backlash, they put Chris in a male's prison. If they didn't legally change their gender, then they probably go by assigned sex. Also, Christian is more or less taking advantage of trans acceptance. They've gone on record saying the only reason they came out as trans was to try to have sex with lesbians. Gross! There are people out there that are questioning their gender or are trans and this creep transition to have sexual intercourse with lesbians? There are a lot more people like him than you think. Where? On Earth? I'm almost certain an extremely small group of people, as in I genuinely can't even see the number being outside a few hundred worldwide, is being referred to as a lot. This is the reason we need to stop spreading the claim that the only reason Chris is trans is because they wanted to fuck women. Because transphobes get their grubby little hands on it. In his mind, made up. You have a sad perception of reality if you think there are a lot of people like Chris Chan. I think what they meant is there are a lot of creepy, autogenophilic people and chasers who objectify both women and trans women in trans spaces, which I can confirm is actually very true and very scary at times. Not that a lot of people are like Chris Chan. Note that I put autogenophilic in quotations because the term autogenophilia is pretty flawed. It's true, however, that there is a lot of trans people who are just creeps who objectify women. Just go see the r/MTF selfie train subreddit and look at the comments. Yeah, I don't agree with autogenophilia either. Just a heads up about the person who coined the term. He's a very bigoted and posts articles on anti-LGBTQIA plus websites. And he makes the outrageous claim that people transition because of, and I kid you not, anime. Name is Ray Blanchard, and this is the Wikipedia page. Sexual orientation and gender identity are 100% separate. Humans are fucking awful. What do you mean? Out of 7 billion people, you honestly think it's far-fetched to say there are a lot of people like him? Truly, out of all 7 billion people, I don't think there's anyone quite like him. How would that be transitioning? It sounds more like pretending, what transphobes accuse real transgender people of doing? Maybe, maybe not. Christine is mentally disabled and often speaks nonsensical things regardless of her own beliefs. She often appears to live in a 90s video game anime universe. She's consistently presented feminine 24/7 for years, and that, in my opinion, speaks much more than a few comments. He raped his own mother, and then he said he chose to become a woman so he could dare boyfriend-free girls, aka lesbians. I do not think you want to defend his position in the trans community. Can I see where they said that? It's in the archives and it's honestly pretty hazy on where it was said, but it wasn't word for word. It was more so insinuated on the fact that he felt he'd have a better shot with women if he too was a woman as he started hating his penis. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint things at time. Christian's history is the mother of all rabbit holes. But for a time, Chris identified as a lesbian trans woman, so while they didn't say it explicitly, it's pretty hard to read between the lines. Christian pronouns. In spring 2015, Chris changed his mind on his pronoun and name and referred to himself as Christine, a lesbian trans woman using female pronouns. Source: transgender Quickie. Can this narrative stop being thrown around, please? I understand Chris is not a good person, but there's equally amount of evidence that proves Chris is legitimately transgender. Plus, saw a psychologist in 2016 that confirmed it. Link attached. I get your point, but this is a person who has made it a lifelong goal to have sex with women in any way possible. It is difficult to take whatever Chris says or does at face value and not see an ulterior motive. Also, Chris is easily manipulated. Is this really 100% their choice? Obviously, it's not 100% their choice, but Chris has also been traumatized and abused by the actions of others, which contributed to who they are today. I'd like to believe in a perfect world where Chris is left alone, that they would be transgender of their own choice and have a support group of people who want the best for them, but they didn't have that. And I feel that's why it's wrong to continue to discredit their identity as simply a way to have sex with women in any way possible. That's literally why he became trans. He changed to a trans lesbian. Hence, I can't get pussy, so I'm gonna chase the most accepting group possible. Laughing my ass off. Also, he raped his fucking mom. She ain't. In this current age where trans people, especially trans women, are called pedophiles for breathing, what is she taking advantage of? People are largely grossed out by trans people and mock us. If she really wanted to take advantage of something, she would identify as male. She is a fucking freak though, but it's not clear cut that she is taking advantage of lesbians, especially when she expresses interest in both men and women. It just seems like something people made up as it plays into a general stereotype of trans women being predators. As in, it correlates to how people think trans women transition to take advantage of women as a whole. Sounds turfy, doesn't it? I did not mean that in the slightest. I have not gone searching for people who have done things similar to Chris. They are the only person that I am aware of that is like that. Being around wonderful trans men and women, I had hoped Chris was the exception and not the rule. Oh, I understand that it wasn't your intention at all. What I was mainly saying that the people who created this theory, like the Kiwi Farms people, were definitely taking inspiration from transphobic rhetoric, and people are unfortunately and unknowingly spreading it around. Now, that is an Avengers level threat. Some things recognize legal names, but only biological genders. It's very confusing in the prison system. It very much depends. I saw somewhere that in Virginia, to change your gender, you must have a surgery before legally changing it. He changed it legally, so they kinda have to. Pretty sure Christian uses male pronouns now ever since they started calling themselves Jesus, or when they were possessed by Sonichu, or Magi-chan. I don't know anymore. Ever since they fucking what? Gotta get caught up on the lore, my boy. Chris gender's pretty lame. Like they went on to become trans so he could do the get closer to the girls thing. Also just change the name, not gender. Christine has legally changed their name. The court, however, did not find reasonable evidence to show that Christine did identify as female and so charged them as male. They used the gender male because that's biological gender. They should have used sex, to be honest. Christian probably legally changed his name, but didn't legally change his sex. Not some weird transphobic undertone that you suggest. You can call yourself woman all you want, but scientifically you are still a male. Scientifically a biological male. Gender identity doesn't depend on biological sex. Pretending to be trans isn't the same as actually being transgender either. Link attached from Healthline, sex versus gender, what's the difference? Definition, characteristics, and more. Because he's a rapist who needs to be listed as male, so he doesn't get access to women he can rape. I think the woman in there could kick Chris Chan's ass, to be honest. If that's his name, that's his name. You can change your name. You can't change your sex. Chris is a man with a dick and is male. Okay, but genuinely, where would they even go? Nowhere are they gonna be allowed back with their mother. And I haven't brushed up on my Christery in a while, But I don't think they have any other family or support system. There's absolutely no way they can live on their own. I think there was some info released a while back about putting them into a residential treatment center. Yeah, that seems like the most likely outcome. There are enablers who probably helped with the bail money. Don't doubt that someone opened up their home. You think so? I find it hard to believe someone would willingly let Chris live with them. Even the most dedicated of trolls wouldn't subject themselves to that, lol. There were literal people who fantasized, romanticized, and idolized serial killers. Hell, some actually bought gifts for them and visited them or talked to them. It's 100% possible. Ah, yes, hybristophilia. But even with that, the serial killers were somewhat conventionally attractive from a purely physical standpoint. Chris. Is a halfway house an option in this scenario? A halfway house? Unlikely. Others have mentioned them going to a residential facility, somewhere they can live on their own and are under constant supervision. A halfway house wouldn't be sufficient for Chris. Who are they? I see a single male. I am referring to Chris with the pronouns they, them, because I do not wish to engage in discourse surrounding their gender or pronouns. I figured staying neutral would be best. And yet, here we are. You can't please everybody no matter how good the intentions are, lol. Ah! That's generally what people call all the lore info surrounding Christian. Didn't know that, and I was on Fortunes when they were bullying him back in the day. Probably Sarah and Steve. Who? In the doc by Geno, there were people named Sarah and Steve who threw money at Chris and even planned on moving to Charlottesville to take care of him and provide for him. Oh, this is the first I'm hearing of this. That's so strange. Like, what even would be their motive for all of that? But so far, they seem like the most likely suspects on who bailed Chris out. It's somewhere around episode 67 to 70. I think, I don't know exactly, but yeah, I agree. The ones who bought him the Switch? Pretty sure they got out of just being trolls. Yeah, they were. Had a whole Twitter arc, which ended with them deactivating their accounts and realizing that Chris didn't want their help, just their money. To be honest, I'd be more surprised if they weren't trolls. I don't understand how someone can have the time, patience, and money to go so far as to provide so much support for a mentally unstable rapist like that point. If you give someone like that hundreds to thousands of your own money, who's the real loser here? I don't understand it either. Maybe it was some sort of savior complex where they thought they were doing some righteous thing. I don't know. It just makes them look like idiots at best and weird ass enablers at worst. I agree. Both sides are pathetic to me. A lot of people went wrong in a lot of places in Chris' life. But the trolls are no heroes. They're not funny. They're desperately seeking online attention through an easy target. It's just sad. Reports came in of Christian digging in the trash upon being seen. They hissed and scampered away into a nearby alley. Nothing was found of Christian except for a bottle of orange Fanta and a replica Sonichu amulet. A manhunt has begun in the city, but no luck. Doom is upon us. There's weens and trolls out there that would fight each other for the opportunity to become internet famous by proxy of Chris. As sad as it is for me to say about another human, for what she did, let her die. Don't give me that in a world of an eye for an eye, everyone is blind bullcrap. She deserves to rot. Can't wait to see his reaction when he finds out his family threw out his Legos, toys, blow up doll, and probably all of his Sonichu comics as well. I hope he never comes into contact with any of his family members again. But that might be wishful thinking. I really hope this means Christian actually getting help from someone and not someone planning some nefarious plot to make them more infamous. The number one question is who posted bail? But given the number of people obsessed with Christian and the diverse reasons for that obsession, it's not surprising that there was at least one person willing to do it. Maybe it's sympathy. Maybe it's just to see what happens. It's not sympathy. Chris burned all those bridges with the soul bonding. It's 100% malicious. I wouldn't write it off completely. Even serial killers get fan mail. And Chris turned out this way because of 20 years of psychological torture and manipulation. I would imagine there's plenty of white knights still. Most serial killer fans are clout chasing though. Whoever released Chris wants to be the person who got the rapist back on the streets, not for any protective reasons. Everyone in Ruckersville seeing the news that he's out.